Well, hello, hello, hello. Much love to you all. This is going to be the second of the third videos today. The third one will be at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is a biblical study that's 20 minutes long, pre recorded, about what the Bible says about watchmen. There'll be a link to the one that happened today. It's only 6 minutes. This one should be no longer than 6 minutes either. So please hit the like button, share these out. But let's get into some of the things that are going on. Um, Many things are going on in the Middle East right now that are raising some red flags. Talked about a little bit of it earlier this week. Got some updates to some of the things we've been talking about. Here's an opinion, but I feel it's a very strong opinion: is Iran unlocking the gates of Armageddon? Um, I think with them having by 90% enriched uranium very, very soon within the next couple weeks, what's going to happen when they get 90%? What happens when they get these 5 nuclear warheads? Um, it doesn't sound very good with we know the history with Iran and the things they want to do. For instance, we're going to go to this right here. Iran today successfully launched a ballistic missile. And some of the comments that they had about it, it says that Iran successfully tested a 2,000-kilometer range ballistic missile on Thursday, 2 days after the chief of Israel's armed forces raised the prospect of action against Tehran for its nuclear program. Um, Iran, which has one of the biggest missile programs in the Middle East, says that weapons are capable of reaching Israel and U.S. bases in the region. So this already kind of tells you the two targets they have is Israel and the United States. Despite the opposition from the United States and European countries, they said that they will continue to develop its defense missile program. It says, our message to Iran's enemies is that we will defend our country and its achievements. Our message to our friends is that we want to help regional stability. We know one of the friends they've been helping is, of course, Syria, who, remember, I said back at the end of last year that the Lord had me blow a whistle about keep your eyes on Syria. Next day, they got bombed by Israel, and then there was a big stream of earthquakes between them and Turkey. The humanitarian aid that was actually a false humanitarian aid from Iran. They had actually been sending missiles there for Syria to have be launching at Israel. But this spells some pretty bad news. Um, you know, One of their nuclear facilities is only 1,500 miles away from Tel Aviv, Israel. But also, look, are we witnessing the birth of a new Middle East? Because we know that Syria was brought back into the Arab League. And when they had the Arab League summit, Saudi Crown Prince and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and the President Bashar al Assad of Syria um, had some talks, and they were readmitted into the organization after 12 years of estrangement from of course, the civil war that's been going on over there. Now, of course, the Saudi-led push for this has brought some backlash, saying that maybe they're trying to rehabilitate the Syrian president, who is the leader of the completely divided country of Syria, who's had an onslaught of over 500,000 of his countrymen and displacement of 11 million under Russian air cover. And of course, they have the guidance and tactical command of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. This is all really key. This all goes together with exactly what we're talking about. We're seeing a big move over here in the East. And we know that Syria and Iran are not very good allies with Israel. So they're getting unwavering support from Russia and China. Go figure, because also China's in the news for, of course, Chinese hackers are supposedly targeting U.S., and it's raising alarms. Now, of course, China's saying nothing to see here, just like the spy balloons. I'm taking all this with a grain of salt. Do we, want to really be real concerned about this? Is it kind of some smoke screens thrown by our government? Is it kind of our government has their hand in part of this? I don't trust any of the earthly governments. I trust the government of God, because we know that Isaiah 9:6 is our true government according to the Bible. The King of Kings and Lord of Lords is going to come back. But either way, I do think China's playing a pretty huge role with a lot of the things that's going on. Microsoft kind of blew the whistle about this, saying that they're, hitting not just our military, but our government facilities with these hacks. So we're yet to really see the outcome of what's really happening here. But also, we've had some pretty predominant earthquakes in the region that we've been talking about for a while. The South Sandwich Islands is where a lot of these earthquakes have been happening in streams. By the Philippines, a couple big ones. Turkey had a pretty decent one, but here, of course, the Loyalty Islands. And I want to get down to this 6.6 on the Panama-Colombia border was one of the biggest ones we'd had today. Pretty huge, predominant earthquake here that we'd seen on the border here. I zoomed in kind of too far there for a second. So right down here on this area here, we're seeing by the Panama and Colombia border, there has been pretty huge. The Fiji Islands had a pretty big one as well. So earthquakes in diverse places are happening. Of course, people say, hey, this happens all the time, but there's been a lot of them. The biggest of them at the beginning of this year was in Turkey and Syria, where there was some 30,000 plus aftershocks and earthquakes, massive ones. I think this year is going to be one of the highest level of earthquakes we've had, just based off that in particular in the beginning of the year with all the things that happened in Turkey and Syria. The weather's up and down. It was like 87 yesterday. It was like 69 today, and then it's going to be in the high 90s. So it's like the weather's just up and down right now. April was one of the coldest. We've had a couple 90-degree days in May, which is unusual here in Indiana. Usually 90s don't really hit here in Indiana until end of July, August era. We're already going to be experiencing 90s here. And it wasn't but a couple weeks ago was talking about how Australia was already having some record temperatures, high temperatures. So if you didn't see the video earlier about more extinctions happening, the link could be on here. The link for tonight's video will be on here too. So may God bless you. Keep your heads up. And much love.